The irony is, and we've heard it over and over and over again, we've never been more connected, and yet we've never been more alone. And I can speak as a business owner that being a business owner can be a lonely, lonely place. Hey, it's Scott Beebe with Business on Purpose. Let's talk about that. And I want to talk specifically about two ways to combat loneliness as a business owner that I think can be really, really helpful. Recently, we spent 2 nights in the Sahara Desert. It was amazing. The desert is so mystical and it's so vast. You actually feel pretty ill-equipped to tie your mind around its endless borders and landscapes. And so much of the desert just fascinates. Of course, we saw camels and actual real mirages and sand. What bent our minds, though, were the thousands of other living things we saw in the desert: trees, grass, flowers, rare rocks, water, people. We walked and watched an entire desert ecosystem, quietly and subtly teeming, emerging, then disappearing. Much of my faith background was informed and built around the experiences of people within desert settings whose metaphors have peppered my training and instruction. What I actually saw with my eyes was something very, very different than what I expected. Yeah, owning a business is lonely. You cannot, or probably should not, share everything about your business, explain everything, or anticipate everything. Decisions are made of which some may never feel reasonable, but you might never be able to explain. A typical day may be spent with an owner's mind racing inefficiently from cash flow to employees, insurance to payroll, receivables to project scheduling. The end of the day is a scramble to find a short window of numbness to escape before the mind machine just continues to churn along over and over and over again. And then there's life to think about. It's important to understand that there are varieties of loneliness, and not all are poisonous. German-American philosopher Paul Tillich helps us understand the subtlety between the loneliness of isolation in contrast to the loneliness of solitude, saying this: isolation, it really says loneliness, expresses the pain of being alone, but solitude expresses the glory of being alone. Yeah, so loneliness can either be pain or glory. The first thing a lonely owner must identify is: what desert of loneliness do you find yourself in? As we walked through the Sahara Desert and rode camels through the desert, there was an ironic peace, almost a draw to stay. There was a sense where I had just a shard of understanding as to how entire civilizations could both live and embrace life in the desert. Frankly, it was quiet, calm, limited distractions, had vast views for the mind to have space to think long and exponential thoughts. There was space that was not available right here in my office or around our conference table. The loneliness we feel may be the very loneliness that's needed through the healing salve of healthy solitude. Sherry Turkle says solitude is the time you become familiar and comfortable with yourself. Without solitude, we cannot construct a stable sense of self. The human spirit needs healthy alone time, time to unravel the crust and calcified lies we tell ourselves in the hurried distraction of a noisy day. The artist Pablo Picasso said, "Without great solitude, no serious work is possible." Action and reaction may very well be the enemy of healthy solitude and will stunt the joy of healthy solitude. Isolation is the painful dark side of loneliness and can be manifested by a deep, enduring feeling of hopelessness. Community is usually needed for isolation, but that community will be ill-equipped to receive the person coming into them if honesty and vulnerability are not included. See, community requires vulnerability even more than transparency, and those two things are different. I read this by a guy named Lewis Wright. He articulates transparency is an openness for observation, but not connection. You let folks know how you're doing, but you keep them at an arm's length so that they can't affect you. That's transparency. But alternatively, vulnerability not only allows for observation, but intentionally opens up for connection. That's that community. The second way to combat loneliness is through connection and vulnerability with a person or group you trust and think wise. Darren Hardy said, "Never ask for advice of someone with whom you wouldn't want to trade places." The solution to isolation is not more isolation. Embrace solitude in order to bring out your best thoughts, ideas, insights, that quiet, peaceful time. But hedge from isolation as an owner by connecting with a community of other owners. Business on Purpose will help by providing you with a wise guide, a proven trail map, and a group of like-minded owners all running in the same direction. Hey, there's a place you can go to ask us anything around your business or how we can help liberate you from chaos. Just go to mybusinessonpurpose.com/contact and we will follow up. And I want you to make time to understand, what loneliness are you in? Are you in isolation or are you in solitude? And once you've got that, surround yourself with a healthy community.